Oh, hello again. Gotcha. Welcome to another episode of The Makings of Black Joy. So, before we get into the episode fully, I do want to take care of a little housekeeping, a little business, if you will. I want to, first of all, thank you all for coming along on this journey. It's very early on, and you're going to see some changes throughout, especially in the coming months, as I adapt and adjust and I'm remaining flexible and to input, and of course always staying true to my main focus and goal for the podcast, or the show, I guess. Essentially, it's a show. Podcast, you'll listen to it, maybe watch it on the YouTube, I don't know. But there are going to be some updates, some changes, but know at the core the show is still me. So that's just the main point. So come along and keep riding the wave. Wow, I'm really in a Brittany Murphy space, right? Like, this is the second podcast where this has come up. Wow, Brittany Murphy has blessed this podcast. Is she white? Yes, but clueless. So she gifted us. She blessed my life and surely all of yours. Plus the little black book. And that one movie where she was with Dakota Fanning. Was that the little black book? No, that was different. It doesn't matter. The point is, if she wants to hang out and keep her energy here and roll with us, her homies, we're here for it. Anywho, today's episode, it came about because last time I had the most difficult time figuring out angles and where I was going to place the camera, all because of this one plaque on my doggone bookshelf. Now, the thing about this plaque is it's like, it holds some really great things for me, but also it could represent some less than stellar stuff, right? So this right here, this little treat, my mumsy and my daddy gave it to me for Christmas a few years back. I got one, and I believe my brother got one for one of his schools. I don't know. He has multiple degrees. He's fancy. And I really appreciate it. I appreciate what it represents in terms of like my growth and what I've come through. But really, I just appreciate that it came from my parents, and you know, it represents they're proud of me, and you know, that's cute. However, I was not like, having it on my shelf in my home is one thing, but having it on a video so other people will see it and be like, is she saying that everybody should go to Boston Conservatory, is another. This all came up in the midst of me doing some work with Black alumni from the school, which I'm finding both very good and also like, but mostly good. And I've really had to think in terms of this plaque, like, do I want people to see it? Like, are they gonna see it and think that I'm trying to advertise for the school, or what does it mean, right? And then I was like, why hide it, right? It's part of your story. You don't hate the school. Probably should. You know people who do. But you're also appreciative of the amount of growth and power you found in yourself, and you're excited about the relationships that you've made from there, so accept it. And that's what I was like, oh, I'm giving this plaque way too much power. Why would I hide part of who I am? Just because it's not fun doesn't mean that it's not necessary. We created so much in our community, even in the midst of our shared trauma. Not only did we in the past, but we continue to do so to this day. So why hide it? which brings me to our theme of why hide it? So, wow. Guys, I say so a lot. Well, yeah, I'm going to say it. What a drinking game. If you're watching this podcast or listening to it and you're just like, it's a girl's day, slumber party. Oh, wow. That was a pre-COVID thought. Anywho, it's a fun drinking game. How many times I say so? Because something is going to tell me I'm going to say it a lot. I say it a lot. Maybe I should correct that. Today's book, An American Marriage. It's not a happy story. I'm not even going to hold you. It ain't. You're not going to think, oh, wow. Like, you hear the title and you might think, you know, like a romance or just like a nice drama. Oh, no. This is not nice. No nice drama. Here, no. Sad. Frustrating. Annoying. Might make you angry at certain points. But I remember finishing this book and realizing that's the point, right? Like, it's not a happy-go-lucky story, and yet, in the end, you do think that everyone has some sense of peace. There's a sense that as tough as it was, as bitter and battered and broken and bruised, a lot of peace, as they are, in the end, they seem to come out a little more whole than they entered. And for me, that is part of joy. Joy is not just a happy thing. It's, if you've seen the film Inside Out, you would know that you gotta have a little sadness with that happy in order to get joy. Because it's not about just like being excited. Happiness is so fleeting, but joy seems to have a root, like a plant, like a good hardy plant. It takes a lot to knock the thing out. And I think that's what joy is. It's in the midst of what you should not be surviving. Not only are you surviving, but you're thriving and you're finding your own firm ground and foundation and community and growing and nurturing in the midst of a storm, an absolute hurricane in which nothing should survive. Yet there you are, just a little seed and you're sprouting on up. And that's what I think this book, with all its twists and turns and dramas, that's what I think is so beautiful about it. Like, I want a happy ending. Like, don't get me wrong. Who doesn't want, and then they live happily ever after. Disney did all their marketing to who? Me. They found me. They gave me Little Mermaid, and I've been hooked ever since. I mean, not enough to, like, have, like, a wedding there or do, like, a bridal shower theme with that. Yikes. Reference to Vanderpump Rules, but still, they got my attention. So I get the whole happy ending fairy tale fa la 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 business. But that's not real. Obviously. And our life experiences are constantly reminding us that happy is fleeting. And you're going to have a lot of bad days. So how are we getting through those bad days? Why hide your bad days? There's a lot of secrets in here. And if there's anything, secrets are not great. They're gonna come out. Oh, they're gonna come out. And it's never good. It's not cute. Sometimes I know we think it's better, but try to avoid it. Although I personally am really good at keeping secrets. I've kept many secrets. I know a lot of people's secrets. But that's not the point of today's episode. Today's episode is about don't hide your shit. Clean house. Tell the world or someone important in your life. So I want to switch gears to something a little lighter, because I'm telling you, an American marriage is not light. It's not light. It's good, but it's not light. Okay, anyways, moving on. So on a lighter note, I just heard myself say so many times, including just now. If you all decide to do this drink, I should take that back. I should retract it. Oh my word. You would be wasted. I say it so often. Wow. Anywho, I caught myself because I was gonna, but I didn't, and I gave you anywho. The podcast today that I'm referencing is, or would like to recommend, is Two Funny Mamas. It's Sherry Shepherd and Kim Whitley, and talk about swimming. And Sherry Shepherd cannot swim. Well, did not learn how to swim. And she tells this story. One, you don't know everybody's story. Sometimes you're like, oh, you don't know, blah, 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 blah. And it's, especially for Black people, it's usually rooted in some sort of trauma. So she tells this really awful story about, her family had just moved into the burbs. She said it was in the middle of Roots. So, historically, that was a very rough time to be moving to the burbs. And she and her sister were supposed to get swimming lessons, and they were the only Black girls at this, or Black people, not just girls, but only Black people at the pool. And they go to get their lessons, and she's standing there waiting, and she said that some little white boy just pushed her. She was like 9, pushed her in the deep end. And she's like flailing, and they, get her out, and the lifeguard yells at her. So she's 9 years old. Some kids, maybe they would have said something to the lifeguard. Maybe it's crying and you're like, he pushed me. But you also could have drowned because you can't swim. So you're scared from that too. And I thought, how many people have some sort of trauma around swimming, especially Black people, that's rooted in racism. I mean, many Black people the Black folks who don't swim, the ones I know, it all comes down to not having access to the lessons for swimming. And not having access doesn't simply mean, oh, there was no pool, but it means some places have or had a rule where an adult has to be with you. My mom works, my dad works. I live with grandma, and grandma has to work, or grandma can't leave the house, she's sick, or what have you. So I don't have an adult to take me to the pool, so I'm excluded. It costs to get into the pool. I think that the lessons had a fee, at least where I lived. We went to the public pool. Shout out Thompson's. And the swim center. But then, I'm trying to think if there were anything else. Oh, and then there's just, regular old trauma. Kids pushing you in the water and you can't really swim or drive. Like, there's all kinds of things. And so I found her story really common for Black people. And yet, her story does not end there. She talks about wanting to get lessons. She's got time a little bit, because folks aren't on the road. All of us artistes are working from home. And she says she went and got lessons. There's a trainer who will give swim lessons to adults, swimming lessons to adults, so they can learn how to swim. What a special niche, because teaching a 37-year-old how to swim and teaching a 7-year-old how to swim, different. Like most things. Different. But she says she learned how to swim, and now she just really feels different about being at the pool. And I thought, not only did she have a traumatic experience, it didn't deter her from the pool. Like, I know most black people still will go to the pool, go swimming, like go to the beach or what have you. They're just not getting in. Sometimes it's a hair thing, which I didn't grow up with that. My mom and her sisters didn't even grow up with that. It was very much, you're going to learn how. I will braid your hair, and we'll just have to make do. And we'll wash it when we get back home. Put some conditioner on it before you go swimming. Like, there was prep. But I know lots of black girls, and I didn't even have a relaxer. Imagine having to do this every time the child went to the doggone pool. I would see girls with relaxers when get in the pool, and I was like, what's the point of the relaxer? But I still wanted one. It didn't change my hope. Again, not the point. The point being, Sherri Shepherd had this traumatic experience, like most black people, and it rooted in race. And she took that traumatic experience, and yes, it carried with her throughout her life, but one, she used it as a reason to make sure her son knew how to swim, because she thought, I can't save him, and I don't want him to ever be in a place where he can't take care of himself and save himself in the water, because you at least will know what to do, which is true. If you have some lessons, you'll know what to do. Two, by not hiding her truth, she's also letting other adults know, y'all, it's okay that we don't know how, but let's fix that if we can. It's never too late. You can learn. Be safe out there. Let's get you out there. And I just thought, ain't that something? Once again, black people taking something that's so negative, and we still be out here at the pool having fun. I mean, there's lots of other stories about us in swimming. Like, they would drain the pool to keep the black people out, or they would put poison in the pool so the black people would get poisoned if they jumped in, or they just closed the pools down, lack of funding. Yeah. Huh. Yet in all of that, you still have black people who know how to swim. We still like to go out and be near the water and know the peace of the water. Because the water is so peaceful. I still have a clip on my phone, like several, from I Miss You cruise. The cruise I went on about this time last year. And it's like really just too much noise, too much action, I need to chill, just turn it on and listen to the waves. And you're saying, Sherri, you can get an app, or you can just turn on like a wave thing or playlist on that. It's not the same. I like to hear and also see the waves crashing and know that those were my waves. So I felt at the beach this summer. I only went like 3 times, but every time I was just like, those are my waves. I say those sounds for me, not you, just for me. And that's beautiful and peaceful. Something that is supposed to be traumatic, and it is. But once again, we're turning around and being like, we'll own it. Thank you very much. So check that out. There'll be a link at the bottom of the video. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to shout out RBG and all the people in her life who inspired her, not just when she was on the Supreme Court, but all the years leading up to. I highly recommend that you guys watch the documentary RBG. And the reason I recommend it is it gave me, a black feminist, a completely new idea in terms of like partnership and marriage and what that looks like. I think often we are told that you're supposed to like not want a partner who ever does anything nice for you, or like you can do it all on your own, which that is a very remedial, no, that's not even remedial. That ain't it. Read a book. That's not it. That said, this film kind of gave me a new perspective on her early years and understanding who she was as a person. Before she became the figure, who is the person? And you learn about her as a person. There are interviews with people that are just like her friends and who've known her for a very long time. And then they also have talk about her relationship with her husband, Marty. And one of the things I found really cool was that years before anybody was really trying to have like equal partnerships or whatever, she was honest about who she is, and he was honest about who he was, and they didn't hide the fact that they had ambitions, but he also didn't hide the fact that he had ambitions for her, which is pretty cool. Sometimes you think you can do something, but you're kind of like hiding and like, oh, you know, like I'm cool. Like I'm cool right over here. Like right here I'm cool. Like I'm cool and comfortable. I'm succeeding. People like me. I have a couple of haters, but you know, comes with the territory. And like other than that, I'm good. I'm working, I'm learning, I'm growing. But you have a partner who's like, yeah, but these 7 people just asked you if you want to do this really cool thing. And I'm not saying you have to, but like, why wouldn't you want to? Why are you hiding over here because you're comfortable? I'm like, I'm not going to go anywhere. Let's kind of push it. I'm going to advocate for you. I'm going to get you over there. Let me talk it out with you. And I thought that was a really nice aspect of the doc. I mean, I've seen this now twice, and not even anywhere near this time. I saw it at the movie theater. Oh, wow. Pre-COVID, huh? BC. And I also watched it later on Hulu because I was writing a thing and needed some information about like stuff that happened in there, and it was just refreshing and nice to know. You know, I think we have this idea that everyone sucked in the old days and now everyone is like forward thinking and progressive. But one, people tend to get more conservative as they age. Tend to, not necessarily, they tend to. And people suck now. So pre, post, 1999, 2020, 1793, like people are just human and they suck. But I want to encourage you to watch the film RBG because you will learn a lot about her. And I love to see people as themselves before the icon, because the icon part, at that point, I don't know you. Like I think I know Oprah, but I don't know Oprah. You know? These people will give us a glimpse of who they are. Like Janet will give us a glimpse of who she is, but that's not my friend, you know? But what was baby Janet like, right? What was little Ruth like running around in Brooklyn? And that's interesting. And it's a reminder to see someone who was so young and then had ambitions that were completely outside of the norms for even now, you know, depending on where you live. And I don't just mean outside of this country. I mean right here in the good old US of A. So her goals were considered ambitious, and yet she ended up in a place that wasn't necessarily even a goal for her. But if she had hid who she really was and hid her talents and hid her gifts, hidden all of that, we wouldn't have gotten who we got. I wouldn't be able to get a credit card in my own name. Y'all, do you know how absurd that is? That is absurd. You want somebody to buy the groceries. I can go to the grocery store and buy the groceries, but I have to use your credit card to purchase them. And then if the credit card is declined because you went out and was drinking and used the credit card for it, I am just SOL. Trash. Ugh, white supremacy, guys. Take down the patriarchy, okay? Anywho, that's our rec for viewing this week is RBG, the documentary. You can find it on Hulu for sure, and maybe some other platforms. I'll check them out, and I'm gonna like add links, but I know for sure we've spoken about RBG, and it can feel a little sad, but I'd be wrong not to give you all just a little bit of laugh on the end. And as part of the makings of Black Joy, we always are going to end with like something that really truly on the socials that really sparked some happy laugh, joy for me during the week, and that I think you guys will enjoy as well. And this is a very popular clip. I'm sure many of you have seen it, but it doesn't matter because you're going to watch it again, because my God, today, if this child is not so funny, he's so funny. First of all, I respect the fact that he understands the value of $1 and that $1 is important, but you need a lot more than one if you're trying to get by in this world. So I appreciate that. Somebody raising this little child right. Secondly, his laugh is the cutest thing ever. It's funny. Like his little joke is funny. Like, actually, it's quick. Like, it's smart. But the laugh is so sweet and innocent. And after a week, 2 weeks of just death after death after death after death, grief all over, tumbling and rolling, and just grief and grief and grief and exhaustion, and just over it, and kind of some apathy setting in. And fall is here, but the weather can't decide if it wants to be fall, so it's like, oh, it's gonna be 75 but still like cloudy, so it's gonna feel like it's 70, and then the wind's gonna blow, so it's gonna feel like 67. But then the next day it's gonna be 83, and you're gonna be like, it's hot. And then it's gonna be cold again tomorrow, and it's gonna be like 67. You're like, wow, that's a big drop, but global warming isn't real. Okay. So all of that. And here comes this little child telling us Jaden is broke. We've come to our end. And as you recall, today's episode was about not hiding. Don't hide. Be all of who you are. Even when it seems like it's weird and no one is going to, when it feels like it's weird or no one will understand, or that you're being a distraction, just be yourself. The thing about Black Joy is that as much trauma as we experience, it's always this center that we hold of happiness. But it's never a happiness that's given to us. It's a happiness that we create. We live out loud. It's our birthright. Joy is a thing that is ours, and we come by it. It's in our music. In the saddest moments, I've been to so many Black funerals where it's just like weeping, weeping, wailing. Maybe it was me. And then someone says something and everyone's laughing. There's this peace that comes with it, and I think you don't have that if you hide part of who you are. So even if it might give somebody a little shine, like this little plaque, and you're like, I don't want them to have all that shine, let them have that little bit of shine. Lots of other people are going to have the shine too. I mean, flex. So don't hide your truth. Live out loud and create your own happy. The makings of Black Joy. To that, I say, cheers.